Story 1. I found out yesterday that she cheated on me multiple times last month. Story 2. When I gave my ex-wife an all-expenses-paid year in Paris to complete a master's degree, she dumped me through email to run off with another man. Story 3. Probably because I started to feel like a guest in my own life, as if I was living not according to my own desires, but according to someone else's script, to avoid upset, to avoid quarrels, to do things the way they should be done. The worst thing is when you are still in a relationship but already feel lonely. Story 4. Not realizing he was chipping away at my confidence until he made a comment, and it shattered me. I broke up with him yesterday, and I have not stopped crying. Story 5. Losing my mother and discovering that the entire relationship was me being used for sex was very painful. I know I keep talking about it, but it really affected me deeply. I do not wish this on anyone. Story 6. Emotionally manipulated, coerced into things I did not want to do, cheated on multiple times, sexually assaulted. I'm not sure I can pick the worst. They all were terrible. Story 7. Being with someone who made me feel alone even when we were together. Story 8. Wasting 9 years with someone who suddenly shut down. Story 9. Emotional abuse includes behaviors such as emotional cheating, gaslighting, and indifference. Story 10. When my boyfriend told me that he was upset that my attention wasn't on him, it was the very same day that I buried my brother, my second loss to suicide, in the ground. Story 11. Gambling. My husband is a chronic gambler who will not stop. It has been excruciating to see what he has done to support his habit. The toll on us is immeasurable. Story 12. Okay, I became disabled suddenly a few years back. I was in a decade-long relationship. A few months after that, they broke up with me and said it had nothing to do with the disability. If they had said it was, I would have understood. However, a lot of it was that their mother was upset because it would be harder for her to have grandchildren because of my condition. I told him I knew that was why, and they denied it, but they do not know I overheard a phone call by accident. While I was in a medical coma and not out of the woods. As doctors like to say, their mother called my mom and alluded to things like that. One reason I was upset is that while we were in the relationship years earlier, he had developed a bad seizure disorder that I was left to handle because his family did not want to deal with it. Not to mention, he had COVID-19 before it was even announced that it reached our area. He was intubated for about a month. At the time, the hospital thought it was a bizarre pneumonia or flu, and he suffered horrible lung scarring and mental issues from this. Again, it was me taking care of him, which I was okay with because I was very committed to the relationship. With the seizure disorder, his family just kept saying he needed to pray more and take natural supplements. I was by his side for years and was fine dealing with a whole host of issues he had because of love. The unfortunate part is we are still living together right now, and it has been rough. I should say I have never told anyone about this. People around us just know we broke up, but I have never disclosed any details. So, I have surprised myself by even replying to this post. Story 13. Being cheated on for about 2 months, just for no reason. We were supposed to marry. That was nearly 2 years ago, and I still haven't found anything enjoyable in life. She crushed me. Story 14. Got cheated on 7 times and dealt with a boyfriend who was overly affectionate toward other women on social media. Story 15. Being ghosted. I was totally in love with her. She made up some excuse about her job causing stress and needing some time. I never saw her again. I was devastated. She finally responded to a text months later saying she could not get past our differences but never said what they were. Communicate with your partner, folks. Story 16. My girlfriend applied for a job I was hoping to get without telling me. She does not work in the same field. She changed her entire resume to get an interview. Story 17. While in college, my first long-term girlfriend decided to stop taking her birth control without telling me. I only learned about this when a mutual friend of ours casually mentioned it to me as if I was already aware. I almost always used condoms, but there were 1 or 2 times when I did not for one reason or another. There were many difficult things I endured during that relationship, but the birth control issue was the final straw. Once I found out, I began distancing myself from the relationship. Story 18. He asked when we were going to have sex again. Not even 2 days after my father died suddenly and horribly. Story 19. Manipulation. I came across some of our messages, and they were awful. My replies were not great either, but why did I ignore everyone around me telling me she was bad news for so long? Story 20. Extreme verbal abuse occurred while he was under the influence of alcohol. Sometimes there was light physical contact, but I was never afraid he would hurt me. I know it is cliché, but it is true. He is a great person when sober. He is an alcoholic, and that does not make anyone undeserving of love. However, we are on a break right now, but we had unprotected sex 2 weeks ago. The week prior, he had an unprotected threesome and did not tell me until 2 days later. Our break is very open, with no restrictions except for obviously engaging in safe sex. It is not the threesome that hurts me. It is the violation of my trust and well-being. I received emergency contraception within 72 hours and am on a few medications for human immunodeficiency virus. I will check again in 2 weeks, and I pray everything is still negative. I am thinking I will make the break permanent. I hope I can find the courage to put myself first in my life. Story 21. He cheated while I was pregnant. A pregnancy we planned. He was unfaithful while we were trying. It ruined my entire pregnancy. I spent the entire time begging him to be remorseful. I was so depressed and alone. Story 22. Losing myself to please someone else is such a common experience among women, I feel. Never stop your own life and hobbies for someone else's schedule. Story 23. One woman I went out with said she would cut herself when we fell out and blame me. Story 24. This was my first relationship, so I will list everything. Emotional abuse and cheating. To be really specific, I think the worst of it all was the words, the name-calling and really harsh words when he was upset. I try so hard, but I cannot get them out of my head. Story 25. He was speaking badly about me and calling me a cow to his friends behind my back, making up things that are seriously not true. I ended the relationship with him half a year ago, and he still texts me periodically, wanting to get back together. What a joke of a person. Story 26. My ex asked me to split the bill on Valentine's Day, then used the money to buy himself Xbox Live. Romance was truly dead that night. Story 27. I introduced my childhood friend to my best friend as her boyfriend, but they secretly got married without telling me. Story 28. I'd say being cheated on, but that's not even it. My last girlfriend left because we were long distance. I got sick and she had insecurities about being abandoned and cheated on. I just wanted to get better and get my sleep back. Instead, she guilt-tripped me every day for not being the same. It was a struggle to even hold my phone at times, and I still texted her for hours a day. I didn't call as much at night, but when I did, there were more guilt trips, and she started becoming verbally abusive. A lot of "fuck you," "you're an asshole," and "you're a piece of shit" type stuff. I was already caring for a family member who was difficult, and she just added so much to the stress, which kept me from sleeping and getting better even more. Up until then, she was pretty good. We had our little miscommunications but always talked them out. She accused me of not showing up anymore and didn't realize that I just needed to recover and never got the chance. From the moment I woke up until I went to sleep, I had to make two people completely satisfied, and I could barely do anything because I couldn't sleep, eat, or anything. I was accused of cheating and all sorts of other things. She became really nasty to me and then broke up with me. I tried telling her some things afterward because I never wanted to blame her directly for some things she was doing, my fault, I guess. And she just got angrier and full of vitriol. We had big plans, and she let her insecurities get the best of her, even though she had promised to work on them. I got blamed for everything. If I never got sick, doctors think it was long COVID, and I ended up severely dehydrated as well. Things might be different. Maybe she wasn't the one for me because no matter what, I'm not going to be verbally abusive, but she did. She also told her stepmother she did want to find a boyfriend when asked, even though we were already dating. I guess she was embarrassed about the long-distance part or had already separated herself from me. I miss her and don't know if I should or not. It's been tearing me apart for 2.5 months. I don't usually hold on to things like this for so long. She was the first girl in my whole life who had similar ideologies and preferences to mine. I wasn't perfect, but damn it, I just wanted not to be stressed out every night so I could get better. I've gotten better since, due to the lack of stress, but I still feel like she's the one that got away. But maybe not if she could say some of the things that she did. Story 29. I have been cheated on in every relationship I have considered serious. I guess that is something I have going for me. Story 30. Abuse. The girls he cheated on me with are close, but his abuse lasted longer. When the person you shape your whole world around wants to cause you pain when they are upset, it tears your life apart. He would tell me I was safe when in a good mood, but I couldn't trust him to have my well-being at heart. He just wanted my compliance and did not understand how to accept me as an individual. He needed me to coddle his every whim, or I was useless as a partner in his eyes. His expectations of people and relationships were always beyond what people could be capable of. Instead of accepting and working with people who loved him, he rejected everyone and lashed out at everyone for not being his version of perfect. It is not just the times they beat you or force your body down that you learn to fear. I feared social situations because they led to him lashing out at me when we got home over perceived slights. I feared talking to people because I knew his behavior was not okay and people would tell me to leave, but I loved him and felt responsible for helping him heal and grow as a person. I feared my own husband, the man I was supposed to trust, because I knew he would always put himself and his feelings first. I knew he did not know how to accept things in life or practice gratitude. He only knew how to resent and punish things he resented. Instead of understanding others, he sought to punish people who cared for him as soon as he felt slighted in any manner or form. I learned not to bother fighting for what I wanted or needed, because it was not worth the resentment and fighting that would occur. He broke my spirit, the constant stress messed with my health, and I was always so confused trying to figure out how to help him accept life and work with people instead of judging them. His Jekyll and Hyde personality destroyed everything he tried to build for himself, and he had to blame me for it, like he once blamed his mother for everything wrong in his life before. I was treated like his replacement mother from the very start. I am learning what he did to me was never love, but an obsession for comfort and coddling. I was the only one willing to endure his storms. That is why whenever I was an independent person with my own needs, he would lash out in anger, hoping my fear of losing him or being hurt by him would force me to comply with what he wanted. He never respected me as a person, and spent most of our relationship devaluing me and my contributions to help himself feel better about the work he refused to do for himself. So my answer is abuse, not just for the physical wounds that linger, but for watching someone you want to cherish and take care of make the same decision again and again. The decision that I had no value and deserved whatever he wanted to do to me. A person willing to hurt another person does not know how to love back. They only know to take what they are given and resent that it was not the perfect form they would have preferred. Story 31. Seeing my girl cry in front of me because of my actions. We have not spoken in a while, but I still think about it daily, and it hurts. I cannot forgive myself for that. She did not deserve any of it. Story 32. Emotionally abused, gaslight, manipulated, blamed for things that were not my fault, belittled, somewhat controlled, not in terms of clothing, but I was not allowed certain things, otherwise he would get upset with me, and finally cheated on. All of this by the same person. Story 33. She left me because I had medical conditions I loved very much. Story 34. Not that kind of relationship, but one friend turned out to be a narcissistic sociopath, and ending the relationship was really difficult. Story 35. Our connection tore me apart from my best friend. Thank God we reconnected, but I did not realize how bad it was until he left. Story 36. I have experienced a lot of physical and sexual assault, but my current boyfriend, whom I have been with for a year now, only loses his temper sometimes while driving or playing video games. I am doing much better. Story 37. I was in an abusive relationship, and it was terrifying. We lived in a townhouse that was basically one house split in two. No one lived on the other side or behind us, and on the left was an empty lot, so no one ever heard us. Our house had a big living room upon entrance that led to a narrow hallway with 2 rooms and a bathroom. The bathroom doors were broken off after a few months. At the end of the hallway was the kitchen with a back door. Trying to escape was impossible. That narrow hallway haunts me. I would be taking a shower, and out of nowhere I would get punched in the head through the shower curtain. I was making dinner when he snuck behind me and punched me right in the ear. It was the first time I almost got knocked out by a hit. From the start, he always went for my throat. I still have scars from his nails to this day. This was in 2019. He would drive me to work and start driving crazily, sometimes just leaving me wherever. He put a knife to my throat and cried about wanting to kill me. He was dumb enough to try to send my mom photos of what I did to him in self-defense, so she called the police. He ran off, and I managed to pack everything into my broken-down SUV and get it towed to my sister's. I still have nightmares about it. Story 38. Being lied to repeatedly breaks trust beyond repair. Story 39. Partner had lied about meeting up with a group of friends and staying at a girl's friend's house. She was actually with a guy. I found out through messages of them flirting with each other and confronted her. We broke up. Story 40. I had been dating a man for about a year. One day, I noticed a woman among his friends who was commenting on his posts and liking them. I became curious to know who this admirer was. I messaged the woman, and it turned out that the man was dating both of us at the same time. Story 41. While he was having an affair with my best friend, he proposed to me. That same evening, I learned. Story 42. I discovered my ex secretly cheating on me with 6 different girls. Story 43. Honestly, the worst for me was when my ex moved to a different city. It was very hard on me, and then, funny enough, my next partner did the exact same thing. Story 44. Having sex with me without my consent while I was unconscious, coerced me into sexual acts, and sexually assaulted me when I left him. Story 45. She broke up with me after 8 years together because she did not feel like us anymore. I think I was being cheated on, to be honest. Story 46. Give love and attention to a man who was cheating on me with another woman. Story 47. The worst thing is that I am a bad person and do not have the ability to fix it. If you check my page, you will see. Story 48. She felt sad because I was not with her all the time due to college, and she self-harmed because of that. The worst part was that she did not want me to talk to anyone. She brought all kinds of people to the house and did not let me leave. I ended up escaping and returning to my country, leaving almost half of my life behind. Story 49. Finding out that my soon-to-be ex-husband had been cheating on me with a close friend, practically right under my nose, was devastating. The friend continued to show up and hang out with me and my family at events like baseball games, mom's night out, and holidays, all while being unfaithful to my husband. Our kids are very close with my friend's children, so dealing with the aftermath has been difficult. Coming to terms with the severity of this betrayal from both of them has been tough. Story 50. I met my wife while I was an Army reservist with 2 years left on my contract. This was barely a part of my life, and I don't think she even knew I did that. The 2 weeks in the summer was always just me going to the reserve center where I drilled to perform medical duties for other units. About 5 years into our relationship, at least 3 years after I had done anything for the military, I received a letter from the Army saying I was being called back and sent to Iraq. We were not married at the time, and I was not worried about her leaving or cheating on me while I was gone. However, there is something about saying goodbye to your partner when she closes the door to her apartment for the last time, and you can hear her start to cry. Sadly, due to how events unfolded for me, that was not the only time I experienced that during that war. Story 51. He came back from the military on summer break and told me he would see me at a certain time. He never showed up. He did it again. He ignores all my texts and calls. He does not block me but reads all my messages. I am being ghosted in a 1.5-year-long relationship. Story 52. My ex walked into my workplace and handed me the engagement ring in front of some of my colleagues. Story 53. My ex kicked me while I was talking to a colleague during college days. He said, "I don't want you to talk to those kinds of guys because I know what they are up to." I broke up with him a week later. Story 54. He did everything for me. He got me flowers and chocolates when I was on my period, but it was all just materialistic. I was sitting there begging for emotional support, but he gave me everything except that. Story 55. I moved to another country for a man. Within 2 months of being here, I realized something was off. I found his wife's pregnancy announcement. Turned out I was the other woman. Story 56. Cheated on by girlfriend with the next-door neighbor for years, all while he was hanging out with me almost every night. Then having a relationship with my girlfriend while I was at work. Story 57. Long-distance relationship. Someone expressed intense affection over text one night and then blocked me everywhere the next day. Laughing out loud. Story 58. She took every opportunity to make me feel like an idiot. When there was a conversation where she said something untrue, she would keep talking around it until she outright denied it or until I started doubting myself. She made me feel stupid and small on several occasions. She told me she didn't like the feeling of condoms and convinced me she couldn't afford birth control. She went out of her way to convince me that birth control was not needed and that other methods were enough. At some point, she fell asleep on the couch with a friend, which left me infuriated. She shifted the blame to me by saying I was overreacting and that I should get over it. She said this all the time. I could not talk to her about my feelings and frustrations because I always just had to get over it. I never broke up with her because I felt like things would get better and that nobody other than her would ever want me. My hands still get shaky when typing this story, and it has been 10 years. Story 59. A nymphomaniac. She was 17 years old and told a 13 or 14-year-old that she was going to engage in sexual activity with her. Story 60. Being lied to 1,000,000 times and still wanting to believe him. Story 61. I was with a girl who made me feel lonely despite being together. She could not give me 5 minutes of her day. Story 62. I was shut out for days at a time after arguments, with the other person refusing to tell me when they would be ready to talk again. This makes me appreciate my husband even more when I reflect on that relationship. Story 63. My husband deactivated his Facebook account after showing me his new cover photo, which is our wedding photo. I just found out when I uploaded our photo that I could no longer tag him. I was overthinking badly. Story 64. He watched me beg him for comfort during a panic attack, walked out of the room, then came back and yelled at me to leave because I had raised my voice while begging. He then chased me into another room, leaving me cowering and sobbing in the corner. He was supposed to be the safe relationship after I had left an abusive one. I was nervous to date again so soon. He loved playing the protector and made many promises about keeping me safe and taking things slow. He also carved an X into his skin after we had a fight and then showed it to me. Story 65. My wife of 14 years, with whom I have 3 children, told me she wants a divorce via email after a 1-year solo military assignment. Story 66. He asked his friend for nude photos, and she did send many of them, just to get back at me when he found out I kissed a guy at school while we were broken up. I was 16 when the kiss happened, and we were 24 when he did this. Story 67. Back in college, I was dating a guy. He was drunk, and I was in the bathroom with him making sure he was okay. He said he loved 3 women. His mom, his best friend, and me. However, he also added that he couldn't fully love me because of the size I was at the time. Later, I found out that he slept with my roommate while I was in my room sleeping. Years later, I got engaged to a different guy. While we were living together, I found out he would invite women over and be unfaithful. He was obviously kicked to the curb. The best part is, after experiencing all of these unfortunate events, life doesn't stop. It just makes you pivot into becoming the best version of yourself. Love yourself always. There's someone out there doing the same, and by the grace of God, you both will eventually meet when the time is right. Story 68. I was paying around $350 a month for her medicine despite being a college student making minimum wage at the time because she struggled with her illness and appearance, and I wanted to help her. She used her newfound confidence to cheat on me with at least 3 men that I might know of, and then left me for one. I have not recovered. Story 69. Being led on and having the terms changed regarding marriage and children by a man who wanted me but not marriage or children. Despite his repeated claims, he did not. Listen to actions, not words, children. Story 70. He sexually assaulted me, then kicked me out of the car while he was driving me home because I refused to perform oral sex. He left me on the side of the road, miles away from home. My cell phone was dead, and we were far from anything because I lived out in the countryside. Then he went to church on Sunday and acted like none of it had happened. Story 71. Finding out they secretly hated me for the last few years and just disappeared without saying goodbye due to changing lifestyles and other reasons was 3 years ago. I still struggle to trust people, whether in new or existing friendships. Story 72. My ex got caught, and her mother came to college and gave me a warning in front of everyone. His father called my father, used cuss words, and even said he would file a case against me. So we broke up. This was the worst experience, and I hope this never happens to anyone. My ex did not resist her parents' actions. Instead, she blamed me for everything. Story 73. We were together for 2 years. She said I treated her like a queen, but in the end, she could not be with someone who wanted to wait for marriage to have sex. It was a fundamental incompatibility. Story 74. Probably my whole relationship with one specific ex-girlfriend. I am lucky and grateful to have survived. Story 75. She dislikes condoms. We were in a relationship for 6 months at this point. She said, "It worked out last time too. Last time I pulled out. I felt pressured to put away the condom since we didn't live together yet, and I didn't feel it was the right moment for having children by surprise. I agreed in the moment but didn't feel good about it. This time she was on top of me and didn't stop even though she saw I was uncomfortable. She continued until I came inside her forcefully. I felt terrible. She said afterwards, 'I won't ever have sex with you again if you act like that.' It felt as if I would be sexually assaulting you. We are still together, but that moment haunts me every day for the past 3 years, and I'm too afraid to talk about it with her. I'm still struggling. Sometimes she asks why I seem upset and distant, and I try to say something else. She's older than me, already 43. We both want children and have tried a lot, but it still hasn't happened. At that time, it didn't feel right for me. I don't know what to do." Story 76. I ruptured a disc in my back and was in terrible pain, unable to walk properly for 6 months. After a long struggle with insurance companies, I finally got a surgery date. When I called my ex to share the good news, she said I should have run it by her because she had a party in Cabo and a work trip in New York. She insisted I change the surgery date, but I couldn't because that was the only day the surgeon was available. At surgery, I was told that recovery would be long and that I would need someone with me at all times for 2 weeks. My ex refused to stay. While I was recovering, she was partying in Cabo and New York. I had to fly my brother in from another country to help me cook, shower, walk the dog, assist with bathroom needs, and clean my wound. Soon after, my ex left for New York and never returned. Story 77. Does it count if he threatened to kill himself at least 50 times and somehow never once made an attempt? Story 78. When he threatened to kill himself and when he threatened to kill me. It was a few years ago, and I am still not okay. Story 79. Got dumped through a group text message. Even his grandmother saw it before I did. Story 80. Got pregnant. He moved out of state before the end of my first trimester, successfully avoided child support for years, and, along with his parents, harassed and lied about me for years. Story 81. When you give your best, literally 1000%, and at the time of commitment, she just backed off. It really crushed me. Story 82. I am bisexual and was seeing a man for a couple of months. We often had friends over multiple nights a week. I became close to and attracted to one of our female friends and started a V relationship with them. I was dating both of them, but they were not dating each other. One night, the man asked me if we could all have a threesome. I said no, but they had sex behind my back anyway. I would have preferred if they had asked me together, as they clearly had this conversation without me. Story 83. Wasting 8 years for someone who does not want to take responsibility for his own life and asks me to be there, saying that without me he could not do anything for his career or money. Story 84. The difficult process of rebuilding my self-worth after a narcissist systematically dismantled it. Story 85. Being cheated on by a man you've known since childhood is painful. But to say the least, there's always good and bad. I started working out and got in serious shape. I never had a problem with alcohol, but I stopped drinking and have been sober for 2 years. I have a great job that pays well. I am enjoying my time and my hobbies, including a serious Lego Star Wars collection. I'm not much of a social media person. I posted a picture from my vacation to France. She direct messaged me, saying I changed and that she wants to get back together. I never even replied. I think that says enough. I am still single and currently not looking. Learn to be comfortable in your own company because you are the only person you are guaranteed to be with until death. Story 86. She tried to trap me, blackmail me, and take half my belongings. The best part is my lawyers stopped that, and I believe she died during pregnancy and homelessness. I only regret not being there to see her pass away. Life is great now, but for a while it was hell, being blackmailed and strung along like a hostage. Story 87. He engaged in self-gratification using my body while I was asleep. He is the most foolish person I have ever met. He is now in prison for vehicular manslaughter. Story 88. My ex-boyfriend invited me over, and we had sex. Afterward, he told me in detail how he slept with someone else in our bed the same day and did not shower. He said how great it was to be with an Asian girl. This was the most hurtful experience of my life, and I will never recover. Trust will always be an issue for me. Story 89. It was 5 years ago, so I am over it now and honestly glad it happened. I was dating a very narcissistic girl. At the time, I was in a rough spot and appreciated someone giving me attention. It was going okay for about a month. This was during school, and a lot happened between this girl and some of my old friends whom I pushed away for her. I lost all my friends because if I even spoke to them, she would tell her parents, and they would verbally abuse and belittle me. Some time passed and that drama ended. I lost all my friends, but I thought maybe she and I could move on with life. How wrong I was. I started getting suspicious about her and a mutual friend, so I confronted her. She made it obvious they were talking. She preferred to call him instead of me about problems related to the drama that would pop up from time to time. She even hung out with him at school because it was embarrassing to be seen with me in public. I don't know why I let it slide. Anyway, I let it slide, hoping they were just friends. She and I went to a show with a couple of her friends, where his band was playing. After the show, he came and sat down with us, and she started holding him and kissed him. Rightly, I got mad and walked off. She followed me, along with her friends and him, and told me I was useless and stupid for not seeing that she was cheating. I still pleaded with her, so she punched me and pushed me into the middle of a main road. She went to my parents and told them I abused her, and spread it around my school. I was known as an abuser for the rest of that year until I proved I was not. Story 90. Being cheated on in the hospital bathroom while actively giving birth to his son and then hemorrhaging, almost dying, all while he was still with the other person. Story 91. This is not really that bad, but given my age, it is the worst thing that has happened to me so far. My now ex-boyfriend and I were 16 and planning our future. I did not really want any children because I did not want them to have my eye condition. Then he asked me if I wished that I did not exist because I am blind. He literally asked if I wished my parents had never had me. He not only twisted my words but also said something that had a significant impact on me. It is worth noting that both of my parents have normal vision. I am just trying to make an informed decision that would be good for both me and my hypothetical children. Story 92. I received a direct message from a girl on social media. The guy I was dating had a girlfriend of 2 years. She was nervous since this was not his first time doing this. Understandably, both the girl and I were heartbroken. I left immediately, but she stayed with him for a few more years. I am glad she finally left him eventually. Story 93. Finding out she is involved in inappropriate behavior and has a significant grooming issue within her unusual church group, and she attempted to manipulate me about it. Story 94. I'm unable to mention a single bad thing, which makes it even worse. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.